So what the forever layoff is,
It
and I
sounds
was
like it's positive though. Like it has like kind of a light ring to it. Like the forever child or forever pet or it makes it sound kind of
the
like
forever
positive.
everlasting gobstopper.
Yeah, yeah. But in
Okay,
this
so it's a
case, the
little more.
forever layoff.
No.
You're listening to Mondays Unfiltered, the podcast for anyone who's accepted that work is inevitably work. We're your hosts, Heather and Kristin. We break down burnout, baffling policies, and corporate chaos with dry humor and real solutions. Grab your coffee and whatever optimism survived the weekend, Mondays have begun. A little about us. Chris spent decades helping executives shape brands and craft messages that inspire, and I built systems that actually made those visions work behind the scenes and kept people from falling apart in the process. Thanks for joining us today. Hey,
Hey
Kristin.
Heather, we're back.
We
Happy
are.
Monday.
I am feeling energized. I think we had some great
Yay, I know.
conversation just now, and I am ready to keep going. So
Cool.
what's on deck today?
Okay, is trend number 2 in the Glassdoor 2026 survey of top trends that their employee survey that they do once a year. So number 2 is called the Forever Layoff. So remember back in the day, probably in our parents' time, not really the 50s, they weren't quite in the workforce then, 60s. My dad worked at the same company for 35 years, um, worked his way up. He changed divisions, but for the most part, he was there. He never had to worry about layoffs.
Yeah,
And
it wasn't a thing until
it wasn't a thing.
I would say in the 80s it became more regular.
And typically it was like about once a year.
Yeah.
We had reorgs a lot at AOL. Sometimes you'd have two layoffs a year. They were shuffling deck chairs. We got a new leader or whatever, and you wanted to raise your hand and say, I want to be in that layoff because you wanted a year long. Well, in some
Yeah.
cases, people got year long.
I remember when
Back,
they changed the terminology to early retirement package. You remember that?
yeah, but when a lot of us were so young, there was no
Yeah.
early retirement in that. But um, because typically what people would do is they get layoff and then they go back,
Hmm.
or they come back as a contractor, or they come back, and it was the tech boom. So
Yeah.
it was really easy to get another job. So what they talk about in here is the forever layoff. So what the forever layoff is,
It
and I
sounds
was,
like it's positive though. Like it has like kind of a light ring to it. Like the forever child or forever pet or it makes it sound kind of
the
like
forever
positive.
everlasting gobstopper.
Yeah. Yeah. But in
Okay,
this
so it's a
case, the
little more,
forever layoff.
no, this is a little more nefarious than that.
Okay.
So what this is about is, by definition of this article in Glassdoor, this trend they're talking about, small layoffs, under 50 individuals or so, are now the most common type. They're more frequent, rising from 38% of layoffs in 2015 to 51% in 2025. So from 38% to 51% in 10 years, and that trend continues
That's a lot.
to increase. The offshoot of that, as you could imagine, is it stokes worker anxiety.
Yeah, totally.
Um, and so let me read you some stuff from this article, because some of the reasoning behind it is really not that nice. Um, so our research on layoffs, this is a quote from the article, layoffs demonstrated that mass layoffs have a durable impact on Glassdoor ratings, meaning they go down from the remaining employees. But for the forever layoff, it's a discrete event. The forever layoff is not a discrete event. Rolling layoffs may give companies a way to reduce headcount without making headlines, which their stock price right? Makes clients worry about their viability, be able to deliver on their promises, but they create cultures of anxiety, insecurity, and resentment,
Yeah.
which, duh.
Yeah. Duh. I saw something recently from someone that was talking about layoffs, and I applauded him when he said this, but he had said, let's bring back the shame of a layoff. And I was like, high five. Like, it used to be a company did everything they could to avoid a layoff because it made them look bad. Like, they couldn't manage themselves. They couldn't manage their finances. They couldn't manage their inventory. Whatever it was that was causing them to get rid of an employee made them look bad. And now companies are using it just to change the bottom line or to increase stock prices. They have no care about the people that it affects. They're only looking at the financials of it. And if I could high five that dude, man, I was like, yeah, like the shame should be brought back because it's not like, oh, well, we got bought out. We have, we're going to lay people off because we got a PE or our shareholders need to have a better turnout at the end of the year. So we're going to cut salaries, or like you've talked about before, where they're falsifying headcounts. Like there's,
Well, and the other side of that coin, what they were doing is falsifying job openings to make themselves look more. And I think you're right. To me, that's fraud. You're laying people off. It was funny because along these lines, a couple of weeks ago, I was reading an article in Alpha Insights, and it was about Oracle. And I happen to know several people, or I don't know them well, but I'm connected to them one way or another that work at Oracle. And they just had some big layoffs, and woohoo, their stock price gets up. So this analyst, and I almost shut my mouth off in the comments, and I thought better of it. This analyst was like, oh my gosh, Oracle's doing so good, and they're doing all this, and they're using AI. Well, I happen to know from the people that are still there, they cut the meat too close to the bone,
hmm,
and they cut some critical um what is it when you call it when you have institutional knowledge on
hmm,
specific products,
hmm,
and they support really large company, or really,
yeah,
yeah, they have great software, don't get me wrong.
hmm,
It's just they were like, okay, AI can do this, and it's like, no, it doesn't have the so they cut to the bone, they cut the meat from the bone. And I almost went off on them and I said, why don't you talk to some employees?
yeah.
So in fact, you should
There's
have
people behind those numbers.
on top of, well, Alpha Insights, if you know what that
I don't.
it's a really accessible um source of information, financial information about investments and companies. And, there's a lot of analysts that talk on there. I thought better of shooting my mouth off in there because, everything I know is anecdotal. And I just hear from people to say, hey, we don't have somebody that knew this product and this company to support it. And the client, our customers are going crazy. And so I didn't feel it was right for me to say anything. But whenever, somebody on the analyst side says nice things about a company, typically that props up their stock price. And I wanted to write in there and say, you know what, we really should be looking at underneath just what, the companies in the C-suite, or the C-suite people who are talking to the analysts are saying. You should be talking to the people who are still working there. You
Right.
should be talking to the customers. If you want a better
Or the
view
people
of
that
how
got
that,
laid off even more impactfully.
well, they don't care. Investor analysts don't care about the people that
Yeah,
get laid off. I'm talking about the viability and health of a company.
right,
So to your point about, hey, does it actually make the company look like it's mismanaging?
right.
There are companies from the AI perspective, they're laying off all these people and they're having to hire them back.
Hmm.
So I think there should be, to your point, bringing back some shame in layoffs.
I think there should be.
Um, I'm still in the marketing technology world and partially the software and technology world. I'm still active in that. And, one of the people that I rely on, who's a really sound, smart voice, he said, these AI implementations, number one, there's no governance around them. Number two, and we're not here to talk about this.
Right.
Number two, there's not a lot of thought put into the implementations of them.
Right.
So,
Well, I think rather than doing the layoffs, if people could think differently, and this is one of the things that I lean into when I'm advising people, is don't just follow a trend, analyze what's happening inside your house, because even though maybe you're following an industry trend or just generalization like AI, but analyzing how you intend to use it, what you want the result to be, and rather than just nixing the people, giving them an opportunity to lead the improvement of that programming. So yes, you're going to implement something that somebody used to do manually, or whatever it was, but then give them the responsibility of overseeing it and making sure that it accomplishes the goals that were set in place. Then you're not laying people off, you're elevating people.
yeah, I do. I think that's a great point, Heather. I do a lot of studying about the implications or the implementation of AI and the philosophy around it. And they said it's just shifting work.
Right.
I think I read something again in Harvard Business Review on that. We might bring that up again in a future episode. But I really liked how you initially pointed out that what does it say about the company? And now we've got, you know, the market reacting in a positive way to layoffs and saying, okay, you laid off all these people. But in reality, was it smart? Was it too abrupt? Did you lay off the right people? Did you, rather than that, I mean, what institutional
Was it
knowledge?
performance based? Was it numbers based? I mean, they'll never admit to it, but I mean,
Well,
if
somebody
they
that I
can't,
know that just went through them, they were told it wasn't performance based. They had to pick, they had a
yeah,
percentage of their staff they had to pick. That was
yeah.
it.
If I
Percentage of your staff. That's it. They were just laying off numbers.
Yeah, if I were to be given two organizations, one is, say, their bottom lines are higher than the other organization, but there's the potential for layoffs because they do forever layoffs, and they're, every year they're always, trimming the fat just to make sure they're running as lean as they possibly can to be the best for their shareholders or whatever their reasoning is, versus an organization that says, we do not lay people off. We are a stable organization. We take pride in the programming that we provide. We hire from within. We promote from within. Those are the companies that I would be interested in going to if I were to be going back into a company again. I wouldn't want to be at the company that's more volatile just because maybe the salary was a little bit higher, but you have the potential to get nixed every year or every month.
I mean, that's such a good point. And, as you're talking about this, so I think there should be a valuation bonus, so to speak, if this company is stable and they don't grow too fast, they don't grow too slow. They have integrity about the hiring.
Yeah.
I mean, the previous, and I can't remember which episode it was right now, but when we talked about the fake job listings so they
Ugh.
could prop their numbers up and scare people. Um, and and I think I want to do another episode about the negative effects of fear versus love. I mean, for the lack of a better word, love. I mean,
Yeah.
in the context of work, I don't know what a better word would be. Um, because I'm talking, there are a lot of statistics about how well people perform in the different, and I just was reading an article too. It's like when people are fearful, they freeze up, they don't come up with the best ideas. So to have the remaining staff in a constant state of anxiety,
Yeah. They're
you're not
probably
going to get
pissed
the
off
best.
too. You probably got rid of
Pissed off.
someone's friend.
Yeah, I mean, you know, it's not doesn't bode well for your bottom line. But so many companies, and there's a measure of companies, especially software, because I've worked in enough of them, that are startups, they just want to get bought. So that, they're not really necessarily interested in building something. Yes, building a sustainable product, competitive product that works, yes, but they want to be bought. So, but I think there should be a premium placed on stable companies, even if they're new companies or
I
startups.
like that
If
idea.
they have that good, that should be part of the valuation. I think there must be. I know, doesn't Warren Buffett recommend
I'm
investing
sure.
in stable companies? I think
I'm
that's
sure, yeah.
his
Well,
so
there is a stat also based on that fear comment of when there's a layoff and how it affects the people who are remaining and either irritation or distrust. We talked about just earlier today, we talked about misalignment, distrust, dissatisfaction in leadership. And that can definitely come from layoffs that a company should expect anywhere, this says 7.7% of additional turnover from the people that are remaining based on their misalignment now with the way that the company has chosen to go. And I actually know, like, from my own personal perspective, when I saw that happening in my organization that I was at last, the environment had changed and I was like, this is not the place for me anymore.
right. Well, I mean, there are so many different scenarios, but the instability, is a huge factor. And what we like to do, Heather and I again like to go back to what can you do? Like as a company, try to manage stably, but as an employee, number one, never think that you can't be replaced or laid off.
Yeah.
So what did Heather and I talk about? Which is always
Relationships.
advocate relationships, advocate for yourself, make
Mm.
sure that you've got your network shored up, your resume shored up. Um, because if it either you get laid off and or it becomes an untenable situation. Now, so I've seen situations where people get promoted. So, could be a better situation, but um, we've talked about companies taking over other companies and getting rid of redundancy or whatever that is. But
And that goes all the way up to C suites too. Like you said, nobody is not replaceable.
right.
Everybody has the potential to be replaced. Even I was watching For All Mankind, a TV show, and the one CEO in there, it's Space Odyssey, and he's like the future, and they get absorbed by the government, and the board of directors decides that that CEO no longer needs to be there, and he was like put off, and it was almost like that scene in Jerry Maguire where he's like, "Who's coming with me?"
That is a great scene. Oh my God, that should have been today's movie quote. This goldfish is coming with me. That's a great scene.
Yeah,
Yeah, he was trying to have a more kind approach and a more
yeah,
personal approach to customers, to their clients. So,
yeah,
and then he talks himself out of a job. Speaking of quotes, you want to hear today's?
yeah. I do.
Okay. In America, we define ourselves by what we do. You ask somebody, who are you? They say, I'm a lawyer, I'm a doctor, I'm a banker. When that gets taken away, people don't know who they are.
Mm. I don't know where that's from, but I'm actually hosting an event that is on that very same topic on August 13th.
You
And
are?
yeah, yeah, we're asking our panel, who are you without your title?
Oh,
So
what's that
what
for?
for the Wellness Connection, it's a networking group that I started in Schaumburg for the community, for the Chamber of Commerce in Schaumburg.
Oh,
And
nice.
so it's about bringing your best self to work. And
Uh-huh.
so in this case, it's like, who are you without your title? But what movie is that from?
That is from The Company Man.
The company men.
And the character was Phil Woodward, played by Chris Cooper, who I love Chris Cooper. I think he's like a phenomenal actor.
Hmm. Never even
Um,
heard of it.
I haven't either. So clearly, in doing my research, I'm surfacing all kinds of, and you loved what was the one that we just talked about with Colin Farrell, Horrible
Horrible
Bosses.
bosses.
I've got to watch that now. So
It's so funny. It's so funny.
it's no wonder that, like you said, there's distrust and misalignment with those really weird little micro layoffs. And I mean, everything's just changing. So
Yeah. And it
um
always will. It will
yeah,
always evolve. But
yeah, yeah.
let's build better places in the process.
Exactly. Let's build better places. Let's learn to advocate for ourselves. You don't have to, accept status quo. You can still advocate for yourself. And then also, here's another thing
Hmm.
that I don't know that people realize. You have choices.
Yes.
You absolutely have choices. I
Yeah.
mean, your choice can be I'm going to stay miserable, or I'm going to put myself in a position to either look for another job, build a business, um, do something completely different.
Hmm.
So never feel like you don't have a choice.
Right. Staying is
Um,
a choice. Leaving is a choice.
right.
And it's a
So,
matter of weighing those pros and cons and which one is more beneficial to you as an individual.
and one thing I would say about if you choose to stay
Mm.
in a situation that's less than ideal, there is a mindset that you can build around that choice that will make you less stressed about it. It's maintaining the viewpoint, hey, I'm here, it's a paycheck. I appreciate this paycheck. It provides stability for me and my family right now.
Yep.
I have to be here. There's whatever reasons that I need to be in this job.
Hmm.
That is not your be all end all. And as Heather just said, you're doing the who are you outside of work. You can develop those things, but there's a way of um, kind of building a boundary up. And it's not necessarily going in there and saying, "I'm my boundary, you can't talk to me." But it's more of a mindset boundary. It's a personal boundary within yourself, and it's a change in your attitude.
Hmm.
I help a lot of people with this, so reach out if you need help with this. Um, but if you need to stay in that job for a certain amount of time, or let's say you're going to school and it works for you right now, but they're driving you nuts, there's a way to change your mindset to make it more tolerable.
Right.
And also there's different tactics, as Heather and I talk about. Um, you know, go get additional schooling, go get training, even if it's taking a LinkedIn learning class, or a $32 or $16 Udemy course. All
Yeah.
of those little micro actions can actually help your mindset,
Yeah.
right?
And one thing that is unfortunate now, but what I would have said 10 years ago is set up your space so that it is inviting to you, where it's like you have your things that remind you of why you're there. But in today's environment, like at my last company, they stripped people of that capability. They said you cannot have any personal items on your desk.
What
This
the
is not your
hell?
permanent space. You had to reserve space every day. That is, ugh, I hated that environment. But that's called hoteling now. And so you would reserve your space every day. Even partners were told that they could not have personal items in their office anymore because if they weren't using it for one day, somebody else could reserve the space and they weren't supposed to have their personal items in there. So that is not a place that I want to work, but those places are out there.
How's that company doing, by the way?
No comment anyways.
Not so great.
Yeah.
So
But be your
love to
own
hear
best
your
advocate.
stories. If
Yeah.
you have great ways of coping, let's say you're in a job and you're like, hey, I might like what I'm doing, but I don't like the company, or I like the company, but I don't like what I'm doing. If you've got things of coping, if you've got trends that you're seeing,
Yeah.
please write us to mondaysunfiltered@gmail.com.
And has anybody experienced yet these forever layoffs? I'm curious.
Oh, I know tons of people who have, but we want to hear from you.
Yeah.
We want to hear from you. And how is
How's
your
it
company
affecting you?
dealing with it?
Yeah.
Well, how are they dealing with it? I mean, they're just like, here, we're going to lay off this part of this team, and then you have more work piled on.
Yeah. I
Or are
can't
they
even
shifting?
imagine.
Yeah, anyways,
So until next time.
stay unfiltered.
See you later. Oh, that was good.
That's it for this episode of Mondays Unfiltered. If something today made you laugh, think, cringe, or finally question the workplace norms you've been conditioned to accept, good. That's where change begins. If you enjoyed the conversation, hit subscribe, share the episode with someone who deserves a better Monday, and help us push the movement towards healthier, more human workplaces. And we want to hear your stories. The surprises, the successes, the dysfunction, the burnout, the breakthroughs, just send them our way. Your experience might shape a future episode. And remember, we can do better, we can be better, and we don't have to tolerate BS just because it feels familiar. Until next week, stay curious, stay courageous, and stay unfiltered.